Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast. Excuse me. In game 2 in a series between MVP versus MC here on Antigua Shipyard. This is the MLG version of the map, meaning that it will be forced cross spawns. Now in game 1, MVP made a very brutal mistake, very obvious mistake, at one point having 9 SCVs on one vest meaning geyser, one refinery. He ended up losing a lot of mining time, and it was simply too much as MC was able to set up his natural expansion and simply push out. We'll see what's going to happen here as MC is opening up with a standard pylon here, and he should be going into a gateway followed by that assimilator. A very standard opening. We could perhaps see a Nexus first, but that is a strategy you rarely ever see, especially against a Terran player who can utilize those Marines and with proper micro be able to split up Marines to take down that early zealot. Now MC, it looks like he will be scouting out his opponent already, scouting out with that 12 or the 11th probe, and he will just be making his rounds. We'll see what he does now. He is currently sitting on 50 minerals, and he is queuing up a lot more. So he may be going into that macro game, as I mentioned earlier. Probe going to slip up and down that ramp in just a second, activate the Zelnaga Tower, and then move along its merry way as we see that the barracks is now being started. MVP going to head across the map as well, take a look around, and try to figure out what he is going to see as the SCV and the probe do pass each other. Now the barracks will still be quite a ways away as we now see MC going in for perhaps a fast Nexus. Probe going to harvest some minerals down over here, and then perhaps set up the Nexus. There it is. Nexus now being worked into play as MC opting to go for a Nexus first here on Antigua Shipyard. The SCV will scout this out. It needs to set up a pylon or a gateway and then a pylon, as he will be supply blocked for a little bit of time. SCV now slipping its way in, taking a look around the map already, seeing that there are probes, another pylon down over here, no assimilator as of yet, but still no cannon as, oh, we have a cancellation on a gateway. Very interesting that he actually canceled the gateway. Not quite sure what the reasoning was behind that, as we now see a command center also being established. So MVP responding to a fast Nexus with a fast command center of his own, and now also training up some Marines, making sure that the probe is not going to be able to slip by. Now, MVP is currently supply blocked, getting into 20 over 27 now as a supply depot does finish behind the mineral lines here. MVP currently sitting on 2 Marines only, and we'll see what he continues to train his units in, as we do have the Nexus already up and running for MC. Harvester count 21 to 18. We are going into a 3rd command center now by MVP, so this is a really gutsy move by MVP, opting to do a 3rd base, and he knows that there's not going to be any large amount of units trying to come in anytime soon. And with the ability to lift off, he should be able to land it off over here and perhaps have a ninja expansion for quite some time. Or he can try to establish this expansion here and then try to just hold, make sure that these rocks don't go down, and then use a Terran Bioforce to hold this choke point and this choke point as well. SCVs are now making their way out. Double barracks most likely coming in as we finally see 1 refinery up. Only 1 refinery. 2nd orbital command will be operational in just a moment, as we now see MC with a large number of harvesters. 28 to 20. But with a 3rd command center now coming in from MVP, MVP should be able to get even more minerals, as the probe was strictly trying to make his way up the ramp, unable to do so, and we are now going into a 2 gateway play, Stalker and Stalker, with that warp gate coming in right behind it. Tech Lab now being added, orbital command off over here, still only running off of 1 gas, so Marauders and maybe concussive shells will not be able to really get enough for Stim as of yet, especially if he wants to add on additional add-ons here. More Marines being trained. There's the Marauder, and it looks like it will be Stim first. So Stim first as opposed to concussive shell. It's not really going to be able to do nearly as much, as MC now looking to perhaps do a bit of a timing here. The probe going to get taken down very quickly. Down it goes, as now more Marines are going to be added to this group. Warp gate tech about to be completed. We can see 2 warp gates, 4 warp gates total, and they will be upgrading to warp gates in just a moment. You can see the Cybernetics core. There it is, now done. And we will see an upgrade and perhaps a bit of pressure placed down off over here. There is only 1 bunker, a second one going to be established, and SCVs perhaps knowing that something is wrong, bringing in some SCVs and looking to perhaps repair as well. That is 5 SCVs, and here comes the attack. He knows what is coming, and now in comes the SCVs. SCVs are going to repair. All the Zealots not really able to do very much at all, as another bunker also going to be established. And with 3 bunkers, even if the SCVs aren't there, the bunker should be able to absorb enough damage that the Stalkers and Zealots will not be able to do very much of anything. More Marines now jumping inside that bunker here. We'll see if whether or not another bunker is going to be established, and will it be up and operational in time. Zealots now leading the way. Marines now coming in as well. A lot of damage being had. The Stalkers trying to focus fire as the Marines and the Marauders are backing off, and you can see a lot of damage being taken by MC. MC really can't afford to engage like this. He traded off 1 or 2 to 3 Zealots for 1 bunker, and the bunker can easily be replaced, and then it can also be salvaged. Zealots with some actual damage there. 1 in the red, down to 25 hit points, as this proxy pylon will most likely get scouted out in just a moment. MVP now training up more and more SCVs, going into a factory. He should add on a reactor and another tech lab here. Stim about to be completed, and with that he should be able to do a push out. Now MC's options at this time, he could set up another nexus here, a very, very strong strategy. You can see gateways are now continuing to be added, and this is a surprise, especially since we don't see a robotics facility. SCV is wandering around. Did it spot? Yes, it did spot this pylon off over here. It will get it quickly taken out. There it goes, as now we finally see an observer making its way in. The robotics facility is, where is it? Right off over here, but no Colossi. So perhaps he's going to be trying to use Psystorm as the option in order to try to destroy this, as now MC does notice this 3rd orbital command lifting off. It will be landing off over here, and that's going to be very bad news, as MC is pretty much going to know that he is behind on bases. He does currently have the larger army ever so slightly, but the defensive posture of MVP with those bunkers, perhaps getting even more bunkers down over here, will help even further, as MVP still has 1 bunker here, and perhaps the Marines and the Marauders will be moving forward. Combat shield and concussive shells now being added. There's the reactor, there's the tech lab, and there's the combat shield, as I mentioned earlier, as the factory now opting to do a bit of scouting. Mules being called into play. 3 mules quickly being called in here at the 3rd base. Nexus now being warped in, but MC is going to be a little bit behind. Not too far behind, as 1 Marine quickly gets eaten through by a bunch of Marauders, or sorry, a bunch of Zealots, as there were no Marauders nearby. Level 1 weapons upgrade, combat shield. We'll see if the armor upgrades do come in on time, as well as the Marines. Only a squadron of them able to take down 1 of those observers, but a second observer is still here. So 2 observers, only 1 of them was scouted out, and there's still an observer off over here as well. MC may think that he has cleaned up all of those units, but no, as we now have Blink, and Blink is just going to work and play havoc here, as we now see Stalkers blinking straight up inside the base, taking out the reactor. The reactor will get taken out. Medivacs attempting to run away. It looks like the Medivacs will take some damage, as the Starport now taking some damage as well. Marines and Marauders now making their way in. Starport down to 500 hit points. More Marauders and Marines are going to engage. The front door still had some units, as the Stalkers are forced to retreat. SCVs are close by enough, and there's a scanner sweep revealing that observer, and a large force of this army now barreling away down on the front door. Marauders and Marines engaging, and a nice force field trapping off many of those units. Stalkers now trying to blink their way in, and will it get enough? No, a final shot not enough to shoot down the medevac, as MC with the slight food advantage now. 14 12 food? Yeah, 12 food. 56 harvesters compared to 61. Army composition still much larger for MC. We can see that level 2 weapons and armor upgrades now being added as well. The blink play by MC was very, very clutch, able to just separate the armies. And with this observer still here, it's really forcing MVP to just stick inside his base, split up his armies, something that he wouldn't normally want to do. Now, down over here, the destructible rocks are going to get destroyed. MVP, does he spot this? Yes, he does spot this in time. But will it be enough, as the Zealots are now going to decide to back off here? No additional buildings. And now we see that the army is just going to move around even further. Marauders and Marines are back over here. The Observer still on the high ground, keeping track of everything. And perhaps the factory can land right off over here in the fog of war and start torching some probes. Really, MVP needs to get back into this somehow. He needs to be able to apply pressure and win out on this battle, as MC now warping in with another proxy pylon off over here. Not far enough to really warp across this chasm, but Stalkers are going to pick off one supply depot with ease, as the Stalkers now blink, or no, don't blink away, as the Zealots are not going to try to engage. There comes some force fields. Zealots a little bit out of position, as the Marauders and the Marines may try to chase after these units. The sentries are a little bit too far away, and some free and easy hits there, as MVP and MC do gain sight of each other. Zealots now making their way in. Zealots soon to be 2-2. Ghosts now being added. The Ghosts do not have enough for an EMP round just quite yet. Marauders and Marines, there's the force fields of Marauders. Zealots are now just being split on the wrong side. The bunkers, nothing inside them, as what is going to happen here? Some Zealots are now caught on the wrong side of the force field, and MC is in trouble. He's going to end up losing a lot of these Zealots, losing a lot more resources than he would have liked to, and perhaps some bad force fielding led to his own destruction in that battle. Now MVP with a slight advantage, but we can see that level 3-3 upgrades, or 2-2 upgrades against 2-1 upgrades. Level 2 armor about what, 25% completed, as the Marines need to figure out what they're going to be doing here. Zealots and Archons are in the backfield. Is it going to be enough, as the Zealots are still getting in the way of the Archons? How is this all going to work out? Metavax, Ghost, EMP, Shockwave, dealing a lot of damage. And now the Marines are simply going to be able to charge after all of these units. One Immortal going to get taken out. 3 Metavacs, very low on energy. How much damage can they do? Marauders and Marines going to engage. Zealots fighting off over here, running up against the sidewall. 1 Ghost taking a lot of that damage there. Some sniper rounds, and the Marauders and Marines really overextending their play, as the Zealots are now going to be able to finish off some more units. But more Marines and Marauders come in once more, and now we do not have, or the blink is currently on cooldown, and both sides exchanging units left and right. MVP could have landed this factory off over here, started some harassment, as we now see Zealots running straight inside the third base. Mules need to be called back over and start more mining. SCVs do have an attack. Mules do not, as the Marauders and the Marines are going to finish this off over here and also take down this proxy pylon and that probe as well. 137 versus 122. Level 3-3 upgrades about to be completed. 3-2 upgrades about to be completed for MVP. But still no really impressive drop play. And I really would have liked to have seen a couple of Hellions just cause harassment here. That would have taken down a couple of probes very easily. 3 Hellions can one-shot, and if you time it right, you could get perhaps 5 to 7 Hellion or probe kills early on and really make the economy suffer. 73 to 63 now. Another command center being built off over here, as we now perhaps see a drop happening into the main base. Marauders and Marines dropping, or just Marauders straight up dropping into this base here. Gonna take down 1 pylon. Is it gonna unpower? Yes, it's gonna unpower 1 of the Zealots trying to warp in, as the Stalkers now backing off here and now in retreat once more. 176 versus 157. Massive Terran bio. 3-2 upgrades against 3-3 upgraded Protoss gateway units. Archons are upgraded 3-3, but there is no shield upgrades at all. As now a straight up drop happening over here. MVP might be in trouble. He doesn't have that many units yet. Now finally unable to unload all the units. More Marines and Marauders are engaging. They need to start stutter stepping and now pulling away. Ghosts are now in trouble across the center, as the Marauders and the Marines are inside the base. Gateways have gone unpowered, and MC all of a sudden losing many of his own buildings and losing the ability to reinforce. Marauders and Marines fighting against a large group of Stalkers here. The Stalkers are going to back off. High Templars are nearby. In comes some feedback. In comes some Psystorm, as a lot of Psystorm raining down on this group. Metavax able to barely retreat, as we now have a large attack on the third base. MC looking to lose this expansion here now, as there's not much he can really do, trying to transfer up all those units. Probes all getting destroyed. Nexus should fall down next, as Zealots are now making their way down the center. What's going to happen here, as the Marines and the Marauders trying to battle it up? EMP Shockwave across multiple units. Their Immortals trying to engage. The Marines going after those Zealots. The Archon's going to be too much, but there's now still more Marauders and Marines inside this base. Another feedback onto the medevac, but the High Templar should get taken out. Multiple gateways are going to get destroyed. Take down the pylon. Don't take down the gateway, as there's only one pylon powering so many of these buildings. High Templar still taking a lot of damage, and now it looks like all of this attack has been cleaned up. MVP in the center, establishing a gold 67 harvesters compared to 45. A new nexus now being placed down as MC is in trouble. Currently running off of one base only, and with that, this base only has 6 mineral patches, and it isn't even gold. Marauders and Marines now making their way into the center, as we are going to have an engagement here. Marauders and Marines may be able to push this off. Zealots attempting to run away. The Marines are moving very quickly. 3-3 upgrades have evened up the fight. Marines now trying to chase after more units. It looks like one Zealot will get taken out, and all those units are backing off again, and we still have 5 medevacs in the air. Ghost in the center, more medevacs joining in on this fight. You can see that there's still a cybernetics core, still a decent number of gateways now being replenished, as we'll see where exactly these armies will be going in just a moment. Nexus about to be rebuilt. A third base nexus, as more probes finally being transferred over. It looks as though the main base, or the main natural expansion, has already been mined out. MC now running off of one long distance mining. No, finally getting this base up and running. But MVP currently running on 2 bases to his opponent's 1, as the Archons now try to tank and fight and get back into this game. Marines and Marauders are trying to stick very, very close together. Medevac's going to heal this group back up. Once more, MVP now charging with 1 Marine. And the Marine deciding to back off here, as we are now going to go for another drop up on the high ground. MVP, the Observer, should spot this. No, does not spot this, as we now see Archons and Zealots. Another Scranton sweep on the front door. Marines now, now looking to take down the Cybernetics core. No more Stalkers, no more Sentries. And that is it, as the Marauders and the Marines suicided their way in to get in even more damage. A Nexus looks like it may fall, and that is going to start hurting the gas economy of MC, as MC is not going to be able to really create any more High Templar. So far, MVP has been in control throughout this entire match. EMP Shockwave depleting all the shields across multiple Archons, and there is the GG. So MVP coming back in Game 2 with a Fury. Stay tuned with Game 3.